Welcome to our Foundation Focus. My name is Bill Dendy, District Foundation Chair for District 5810, and I am so pleased to have with us the guest, Ms. Pat Merryweather. Pat, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Bill. And it's always wonderful to be with you and to just have conversation.
Well, you're one busy person. I mean, you're on your way down from Chicago to Mexico, and you took a little time to stop here in the DFW area, and you were busy from the time you got here to the time you leave tomorrow. How do you do it?
I love what I do, just like everyone. You find the time, you make the time. And I couldn't miss Regina's installation as a district governor. I'm so excited for her. I'm so excited for District 5810. Again, just a wonderful opportunity.
Regina is a true gift to this organization and to our district. And I'm grateful that she'll be having this next year to guide our district.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of folks, let's see, Pat Merryweather is Rotary royalty and way beyond us. But I think it's so cool that you're just like us.
I am a Rotarian.
Tell us a little bit about your Rotary story. How did it all begin, and what are we up to today?
Okay, this is pretty interesting because I went to school, I lived in Chicago, I went to high school about 4 miles from Rotary headquarters. I had never heard of Rotary. And it was when, shortly after 9/11, I was asked to go on an ambassador project to China, an exchange between China and the U.S. And so I went to China. I was amazed at the level of poverty. I'm in healthcare, so again, I was really focused on the healthcare aspects, the public health, as well as even the hospitalization, the services, things like that. And so I came back, and then my son was playing football, high school football, and one of my friends said, "Really, Pat, you were in China. Why don't you come and talk to my Rotary Club?" And what was the question I asked? What's Rotary? And so I went to the meeting. This is right after 9/11. Went to the meeting. I was amazed at how the energy in the room, everyone was excited. They were enjoying each other. There were jokes going on, and just the camaraderie, the fellowship that was there in the room.
That makes it attractive, doesn't it?
And they listened to me.
So I think that's kind of what attracted you too, is
yes,
they're interested and they're interesting. So
yes, and they were very inviting, very welcoming. And before I left, they asked me if I'd come back again. And so I found out what Rotary was about, and I joined. I was a Rotarian about 2 months later, and I've never looked back and regretted it. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I want to talk about the first time I was out on a Rotary project. So I went to Africa. When I went there, I was stunned that in this community, it's called Upendo Village, the youth were raising other youth. Their parents had died of AIDS, and so they were 13, 14-year-olds were the heads of households. They lived in mud and dung huts. They were going to school. And so for what she had in mind is this one boy had a sibling and 3 other siblings, younger siblings, and he used to walk down to the water, to the river, a couple of miles and come back a couple of miles and carry jugs. And he would use the water in the jugs to barter for food, for corn, for any type of thing for the family. And so what we did is she came and she said, "Here's what we're going to give them, and it will be a surprise." And it was beautiful, being in Kenya, it's wide open. The sky is just the bluest, grass. It's just beautiful. And she came with 2 mules, a cart, and large containers so they could transport water.
So the mules, the cart, and the containers.
Yes.
That's got to be a major gift for a place like Kenya.
It was, he looked up and he hit his chest and he said, "This is the happiest day of my life." I have 4 teenage sons at that time at home, and I thought if I had given them what they would say. But I think sometimes we forget that our gifts, no matter how big or small, are really impactful for many people. And so that was a story for me, is how people live in different countries, how they're trying to get by. But if I went into their house, their hut, they would offer me something,
The best
whatever
of what
they
they
had,
had.
whatever
The
they
best.
had. Yes. I have been so impressed this past year, like past 2 years, going around to different places. I work with 37 districts in 13 countries. And just going to those communities and seeing what they're doing, the projects they're initiating, the impact they're having, the lives they're saving, their lives that are changing because of the Rotary impact. It is just amazing. And one of the places that we went to and was in Cucuta, Colombia. Cucuta, Colombia borders Venezuela. And I went with President Gordon and Gladys Maldonado, the Rotary coordinator there. And on the border, the people from Venezuela came over. Rotarians from Venezuela can't leave the country, but they got some permission to leave so that they could be with us. And about 200 came over for this. They walked over this bridge, and they had to go a long way to make it to Cucuta. And in Cucuta, the past mayor was a Rotarian, so he had erected a women's and children's center, a diagnostic center, all free for the people from Venezuela. When we got together with the Venezuelans, they do projects within their country, and they were very emotional. And it's almost what I heard from the Rotarians in Ukraine. Rotary provides hope. This is where they have a belief that someday their situation in the country will improve, and there won't be, some of the political upheavals that are going on. And that is something that we also take for granted, is that for many people, it's a lifeline to hope. And so, again, I can't say enough about the people that are working in all these communities around the world, having an impact, changing lives daily. And again, they do it with such joy. And the saying that, when you give to others, you do get even more back. I mean, it fills your heart. It fills your sense of belonging to a community. And I'm in healthcare, so we know isolation, people that happened during COVID, that they had no outlet, they had no way to communicate, they were by themselves, that it really does physically harm you, not only mentally, but physically. And so this is a way, if you want to keep healthy and want to physically and mentally, give of yourself.
Spirits.
Yes.
And that
yes,
is so uplifting.
Yes. Yeah.
I know you've worked on many things, but tell me, what's been one of the most exciting Rotary grants you've worked on?
It was in India, and it was something that, again, I couldn't, it was hard to get my arms around, because we were putting in a dialysis center. Men in the community were dying by suicide. When they were given the diagnosis that they had to go on dialysis, that would have cleaned out their children's education funds. So they were dying by suicide. And so we brought the dialysis center there. It's low, there's no cost or low cost for people to be on it. The suicide rate changed. It went down because of that. And I just remember meeting this one young boy, probably about 13, 14 years old, and his dad was going in for dialysis, and their mom, his wife, was there too. And he just collapsed in my arms, crying. And he said, this has saved my dad's life. And he didn't mean the dialysis. He knew what was ahead. And so I think that sometimes we see something that we think is, an intent to put in dialysis center was just for that purpose, but there was another purpose.
Way beyond.
And the Rotarians there in India knew it.
That is so uplifting.
Yeah.
And that's one of the joys of spending time with fellow Rotarians.
Yes.
They're out there doing the work.
Yes.
And we are so grateful that you're here in Dallas, Texas today.
Yes.
And you'll be sharing a little time with us tonight at a little disco party.
I think so. I'll be dancing. I'm ready to dance.
Well, I hope that our Rotarians will enjoy this moment with Pat Merryweather. And if you ever have the opportunity to spend some time with a true Rotarian with a heart of service who has done a lot for the organization, please spend some time with Pat. You won't regret it. God bless you. Until next time, it's Bill Dendy with the Foundation Focus.